In today's show, we discuss, can men and women be truly platonic friends?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Tayo Boya. Tayo, hello, my friend. I hope you're keeping safe and well.
Yeah. What the hell, Tony? What you gonna do, eh?
I don't know.
I don't know why you keep asking, man. But anyway,
I've got to keep asking. It's pleasantries, isn't it? It's to ask my friend how he is, and you're like,
life.
Okay, are you going to, I've got to ask you. I don't know why I'm asking you, but I'm going to ask you. Are you going to say hello to our audience?
I suppose so. Hello, what is what the hell? You know what you're gonna do? Listen, listen. Let me. Have you thought about the difference between men and women in this respect? That when for a man, he gets concerned when he sees his wife is happy. I'm not kidding about this, brother. A man, you're a man. I'm a man. When your wife is unhappy, you're concerned. It's like, what's going on, right?
Okay.
For women, it's when the man is happy that they're concerned. You come into the house whistling because what's going on? You come into the house grumpy, if they go like, yeah, sit down, have to take care of your. But isn't that kind of weird? So why don't you want me to be happy now? What the hell's going on?
That's when you've been married a long time. I think that's more.
Yeah, still. You got to ask.
Okay. Indeed. Anyway, let's
leads up to our topic today.
Indeed, let's move on with the show. And in today's show, we discuss, can men and women be truly platonic only friends? So, seeing as this was one that you brought up, Tayo, I'll ask you to kick off. Yeah.
I don't know how this came about. I don't know how the topic came about. Maybe it was something that came up in the office or something. I don't remember. But certainly, from my point of view, I believe that by and large, men and women cannot be platonic friends. I mean, there is friendship, but there's always an underlying current of something or the other in most cases. So it's not a question of never.
I'm glad you corrected yourself there, where you said most cases, because it wasn't an absolute in all cases, which is,
No.
I mean,
I'm going to state it like this.
Okay.
If a man finds a woman sexually unappealing, they can be friends. At least from his point of view, there is friendship. And if both parties find the other sexually unappealing, there can be friendship. But where there is the slightest hint of sexual interest in the other party, even if it's just theoretical, if she said I could, I would. The only thing that's stopping that from happening is that the woman doesn't say you can. That's what I'm saying. And science, by the way, tends to bear me out.
So you're saying then that the thought is enough. That does not count as platonic.
Yeah, it's always waiting on the wings. It's like a vampire, with the fangs growing, and it's just waiting for the neck to be bared. But because the neck is never bared,
Yeah, but that's an extreme point of view, because you're now.
No.
Well, it is. No, think about it. Every man, pretty much, every heterosexual man, pretty much, if they're shown pornographic material to their particular tastes, they will get excited by it. That's a sexual response.
Mhm.
Now, that's not the same. You're saying that if you're meeting somebody and she's slightly attractive, that means you can't have a platonic relationship with her. That's not true.
You can't have it's platonic because of because of the risk of rejection. It's not really platonic. Okay, so let's say there's a man A or boy A or teenager or whatever. It doesn't
Okay.
male A, right? Is asked by female B, can you drive me into town tomorrow to do some shopping?
Do they know each other? They must
know each other. There's friends like this. The reason that man A is going to agree is because he wants to stay in her good books, not because he's for no other reason than he wants to stay in her good books, because maybe one day he'll get some. Now compare and contrast this to his best friend, a man, saying to him, can you run me into town on Saturday? I want to go shopping. The obvious answer is, what the hell's the matter with you? Go to town yourself. Why should I go? Not your flipping chauffeur, even though we're best friends. True or false? You're a man. Yeah.
If a friend asks me to do something, because I will do it because he's a friend.
No, not shopping. You might say
not shopping. Shopping's a bit weak. Yeah, but shopping's weak.
Yeah, but if a woman asked you,
no, if she was a friend of mine and asked me for a favor.
No, shopping, specifically shopping. Can you take me to the mall? I want to go to the mall.
I would question it. I'd say, why? I wouldn't be outright rude because that's not my personality.
No, I'm not going to be outright rude, but I mean,
it'll be like, why do you need me to take you?
Oh, okay. So, my man Joe is out of town, and he normally drives me into town. He's not around. I was just wondering if you could drive me into town.
Well, if I'm not doing anything at all, I'd help a friend out. Yeah, it's not an issue.
Okay, so a lot of guys.
But if I'm busy, I would go. Unfortunately, I can't. I just can't. I've got something on. I can't do it.
Okay, now let me up the ante. Okay, so first of all, I think if it was a guy who wants to go to the mall, you're just going to say no. Just no. If it was a guy who said, come and help me move my couch, you say, yeah, because that's a man thing. It's like, oh, yeah, you can't carry a couch yourself.
Okay.
What the heck?
And if a woman came and asked you, can you help me move my couch? You would do that too?
No, I'd probably say no.
You wouldn't?
No. What the hell, man? Move the damn couch yourself and make that okay.
No, because it's a display of macho-ness.
I wouldn't actually. No, seriously, I would. Seriously,
well, you've got a dodgy back anyway.
I got a dodgy. So I was waiting for you to stop. Just think, my back, maybe. I'm not moving no stinking couch for anyone. Okay.
Well, you've got a justifiable reason in that case.
Yeah.
But it's a macho thing. It's lifted. It's like if a woman, example, if a woman wanted you to go to the store and go shopping with her, like you've said, you'd probably say no, would you? Or would you agree? Would you take her? Same example.
No, I wouldn't. No, right. Okay, so wait.
Let's turn
for the sake of this next hour or so, I'm not going to be micked out. I'm just going to be okay. All right. Yeah, I'll take her, and I'm going to explain why in a little while.
Okay. All right. That you would. But what about if a female came and asked you, oh my God, I got this massive spider. I'm really scared of spiders. Please help me. You as a man would use your manly side to show not fear. You're not going to say, oh God, I'm scared of spiders too. No, you'd go in and get rid of the spider because a female has asked you and is asking for your maleness to be brought to the fore, which you're naturally inclined to do. So you want to show that. So it would help. You would do it. So
I would with a spider, but I would for a strange reason, and I have done it. And the strange reason was I didn't want them to kill the spider. I don't think it's necessary to kill spiders. I think you can just get rid of them.
Yeah, well, you can. It depends how big the thing is, of course. Obviously.
So just wrap them up in the funnel and butt your uncle. So that's what I did. right?
Okay.
But if they said there's this spitting cobra in my room and it's got its hood flared up and it's ready to spit, I'm not a snake wrangler, baby. You got a
Yeah,
job
I know. You assess it in that moment and think, is this worth
You want
the
to call me
risk?
chicken?
No. You assess the situation in your mind and think, is this something I can come away with a bit of pride and a bit of ego boost that I can deal with it? But if it's something that's a little bit shaky, then obviously you're going to think twice. But I think that has nothing even to do with the gender of the person asking you.
I think it has.
Because if it's a young man who's a teenager or whatever, not very strong, looks quite timid, you would do it purely because you would show your manliness over and above that youth. You would do it. And it's pecking orders almost. And you assess the situation, you assess the person, and you would look at them and psychologically think, yeah, I'm better than them because I'm older, I'm bigger, yeah, I can do this. And you would do it for pride almost. But if the dude happens to be 6'4", big giant bloke, and he's asking you, you'd sort of question and go, what's the matter with you, mate? You would. And that's just pecking order of blokes. But going back to this platonic only friends thing, you can be friends with somebody, and even if the person was attractive, because if you're happy in your situation in a relationship, then that should be your focus, not the other person.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna call BS on that. Now I'm trying to.
Why are you going to call BS on that? Come on.
Because it's true. Because look,
that means you're saying every man would be unfaithful. Period.
You know what? It's almost like a right. I mean, let's look at it like this. Let's look at now. Who am I thinking of? I've got one person in mind for the fairer sex, representing a pretty person. I'm just trying to think of somebody who is like not okay.
No,
so,
you can't be naming anybody and then referring to them on our show differently. You can praise them, sure, but you don't denigrate.
Well, we do have people who we all universally agree that's not someone we're going to be attracted to physically. I mean, it's a fact. It's not a judgment. There's a well-known singer, for instance, if you don't want me to name her, but there's a well-known singer who's got a nice voice, but by golly, we wouldn't want to have anything to do with her. So I'm putting her up. How would you
say that? You can't say that.
Because she looks like the back of a lorry, man. That's why. I mean, it's just a fact of life that she's not very pretty. In fact, she's the opposite of pretty. You know this expression, somebody is hard to look at. She's hard to look at. You don't want to look at her. You want to look somewhere else, right? And then you've got someone like Scarlett Johansson in her prime. She's just a little bit past it now, in my opinion, but never mind, right? She's rather pretty. She's easy to look at. So if Scarlett Johansson asks you to do something, and this other person asks you to do something, 99.9% of all heterosexual males are going to be okay doing it for Scarlett Johansson and not so okay doing it for this other person.
Absolutely. But that doesn't mean...
Because who knows? Maybe she'll be so impressed that she'll press herself into your bosom, so to speak, and you'll get some.
No, okay, listen. Okay, listen.
It's not platonic.
Okay, what's platonic? Let's define that word first. And where are the boundaries of that word? Okay, so what does platonic mean?
Well, to me, I don't know about the dictionary definition. To me, platonic means a friendship, a relationship that you have which has no sexual overtones whatsoever.
Overtones? Or...
Yeah, there's no sex. There's nothing to do with sex. It's just you two of you are just friends,
So if somebody was with somebody else and thought, oh, wow, she's really attractive, but never did anything about it, that's not platonic.
That's not platonic.
Why?
Because
nothing's happened.
But he wants it to.
Doesn't matter. It's like court of law.
You can't say it doesn't matter. To me, it matters. That's why it's no longer platonic. That's my definition of it. It's not platonic. What is stopping him is lack of opportunity. It's not that it's a platonic relationship. In a platonic relationship, which by the way, I have a couple of platonic relationships, I would be highly offended if the female made a pass at me. I think we're past that. There's nothing there between us. We can actually spend the night in the same hotel room and nothing will transpire. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that she's not interested either.
Yeah.
So that's platonic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But where?
So you're removing the thoughts, even.
Yeah. There's nothing. There's nothing.
All
there.
right. So that means, okay, let's move it slightly. Let's steer the conversation ever so slightly over. What do you call infidelity then?
Natural if it's for the man.
Oh, what?
Natural if it's for the man. If the man is doing it, it's natural. I mean, it's just look.
So, okay.
We sort of have to. I even said to my wife once. I don't think she bought the argument. I said, "Look, I'm doing this. If I did such a thing, I'd be doing it for you." And she was like, "What? How does that work?" I said,
"Yeah, exactly.
Imagine a pretty woman. Imagine a I don't know. I keep using. I don't know who else to use. Anyway, imagine a Charlize Theron or someone like that. You know, hitting on me, right? And then I didn't act on it. That's what I'm letting my wife down. What the hell, man? You've got to step up to the plate and deliver the goods here, man.
Okay.
So that she can buzz and say, yeah, look, he nailed Charlize Theron and he's still with me because he loves it. That's. Do
you think that would wash? You don't think that every time?
I don't think I managed to convince her. I think she was like, no. But
exactly.
I did try, and you can, and anyway, it's all theoretical until it actually happens. So if you know where Charlize Theron is going to be in Northampton next, let me know. But that aside, the whole idea is this thing that we have, which is it's different for the sexes, man. There's a real what do you call a lock which any key can open?
A lock which any key can open. Is there such a thing?
Yeah, just say there is. What kind of lock is that?
Well, it's not a lock, then, is it?
Yeah, it's useless, right?
Right.
What do you call a key that can open any lock? Huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that mean? I still don't understand what you're meaning.
What is a master key? Okay, it opens any lock. That's a man. He can get in there and open any lock. That's a man. On the other hand, any lock that anybody can open, that's okay. All right. These are the facts of life. These are facts, man.
You're now blurring the lines here. You're now making a conquest or the challenge of the chase as something which is I don't know. Men do like that. I'm not saying they don't, because you are working for an end result, and if you get an end result through those means, because you've been smooth, you've been chatty, you've impressed, you've done all the things that you've shown your prowess, and you've won the woman over, that's like a conquest. It's a challenge. You've done it. You've got there. Yes. So that's a man thing. I agree. But that's not what we're talking about here. Because going back to my point, which you didn't actually answer, you sidestepped, the bit about infidelity.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define infidelity? Because you've now defined a platonic relationship as non-thoughts. I don't define platonic relationship that way. I define it as where you actually act on in any way physical in nature. If you're just thinking, then that's in your own head. And as long as you still act appropriately and you maintain the relationship in a platonic manner, then that's it. It doesn't matter.
Well, you are still in a platonic relationship. I don't see the connection, but what's the connection?
Infidelity then, what I'm saying is, how does it count as being, you've been unfaithful to your partner? If you just see something,
it's got to be physical. It's got to be physical. But at the same time, you know very well, and I am assuming as a married man, you know very well that you can't go around ogling women when your wife is there. You can't drool, and yet all you're doing is you're just looking. It's just a thought that you're expressing sort of physically just by looking.
Okay.
But you haven't crossed the boundary. Maybe the person you're looking at is on the other side of the street or something.
Yeah, okay.
Or you're on a magazine cover or something.
Yeah, but it's not infidelity. See, even if you drool and you're caught drooling, That's
You
not
know?
infidelity. You might
But
get
it still
an
gets,
earful, but
yeah,
you're not.
exactly. It
But you're not
still
being.
evokes that kind of passion in in your spouse, wife, whatever your partner, whatever you
Of
want to say.
course, because
All right,
there's still
so
faithfulness.
some people would go as far as saying, yeah, even that's like some form of infidelity, but it moves away from whether it's platonic or not. I'm trying to say that, look, me, Dupree and his brother, we all have the hots for certain women, okay?
Okay.
We're heterosexuals. It's just fact of life. If we were friends with this woman, maybe for the rest of our lives, absolutely nothing would transpire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a platonic relationship. If you had to describe it, it's a platonic relationship.
But if we had the opportunity.
But if it's not forthcoming, say the other person is not interested.
Yeah.
So you're in a platonic relationship. You may hope that it might happen, but that still doesn't mean it's happening and you're in a platonic relationship. You see, it's only when it moves to physical in some way, a touch, a kiss or something like that, then it's no longer platonic. But until it gets to that point.
Yeah, what you're trying to say is you're trying to make it into when it crosses over from being platonic to being sexual. I'm trying to say that without desire on either part, on either side of the equation, it will never be sexual. And that is why it's truly platonic. That what you're calling platonic is actually a lack of opportunity. It's not platonic. It's a lack of opportunity.
But that then by default makes it platonic because you're not actually acting on anything.
Yeah, you can't. It's like saying somebody is dieting when there's no chocolates in the house. There are no chocolates in the house doesn't mean you're dieting. It means there's no chocolates in the house.
But you're dieting because you haven't got access to them.
You haven't got access to them. But so it's like it's
okay. Question for you: is a paedophile when he doesn't have any contact with any children?
Yes, of course he is. He's attracted to children. That's what makes him a paedophile. It's not the actual contact. That's why you don't leave kids with him.
Yeah, but that's because you've got the fear that he may act on it. But he hasn't done.
That's because it's
does
a paedophile.
Does that make him a paedophile? No, but does that make him a paedophile?
Yes.
Without acting on it and never acting on it?
Yes, it does.
And he hasn't.
You have to be careful. That's why you do CRB checks and people will know what that is outside.
Yeah, with a history, and if there's no history. Do you see what I mean? He's not got any dodgy photos. He's not anything like that. You could accuse.
So he's an undiscovered paedophile.
Okay, but how do you know that?
Well, we don't until he does
there
something.
You go. Same.
What do you mean? There we go. What has that got to do with it?
He's not a paedophile then.
He is. Just we don't know. It's like you got the hots for person AYZ, XYZ, whatever, XYZ. You've got the hots for her, but you never had an opportunity. Doesn't mean you don't have the hots for her. Doesn't mean that if for some, by some chance, she offers you, some, and you think you can get away with it because you know what? I got to be honest with you that fidelity is rather like being committing a crime. We all know what the punishment could be, but we all have to be sort of logical about it, and we'll look at the odds of getting away with it. And if you think you can get away with it,
but that doesn't make it. It's
non-platonic. It's non-platonic. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that it's when there's it's almost as if you're trying to say until there's an affair, it's platonic, which is not true.
Why?
Okay, because when a lot of men smile at a lot of women and become friends with a lot of women, it's not because they even like the woman. It's because of this thing I'm saying, that they are what in the MGTOW world we would call simping. They're trying to be goody two shoes, trying to be nice guys, and in the hope of getting there, of getting some.
Okay.
Right. So that is why it's not platonic. It's like a stalker stalking someone. It's not out of sort of benign interest. It's malicious. There's almost malicious in the case of platonic relationships. There's an undercurrent. There's something
There's
there.
an undercurrent. That's what you
Yeah.
meant to say. Yeah. The undercurrent there is that he finds, say, the man's side, he finds her sexy
Mhm.
in some way, and he wants to cozy up to her on the off chance that she may reciprocate. But if she's in a relationship and happy, then she'll never reciprocate, and he'll always be in this, in
Yeah,
quotes,
don't
friend
dump
zone.
everything. Don't dump everything.
No. It works both ways. I'm just
yes.
giving it an example. It could be the other way. I mean, a female could be cozying up to a man who makes her laugh, who makes her smile. They get on, but he's happy in his relationship. He's not looking for anything else, and she's on the hope that he may
Yeah, we all know
warm to
cases.
her in another. Yeah, again. So, but
in
that's
our lives,
still
we've heard of
platonic.
cases.
You see, it takes two to tango. It doesn't matter if it's in her head.
It's not platonic. He doesn't know. We might even, especially when a woman is on the boil on the make for someone. Men are so utterly clueless.
Yes, they are.
That most of the men around will go like, she likes you a lot, right? And the guy will be like, nah.
Yeah, exactly. But women pick that up.
But we will be like, he's got to be careful. And if there's a wife,
we
or
wouldn't
girlfriend
pick it
involved,
up either, but our wives would.
No,
Women are better at that messaging, picking up those messages, subtle messages, than us men. We're not actually designed for that sort of thing, whereas women are. So that's why.
I think when it's not me involved, I think I can spot it in others.
Well, maybe
I don't spot it for myself.
Wisdom, you've acquired wisdom through experience, then yeah, you can probably spot it. But normally, women are far better with body language than men. Men do not get it. There's always a situation. I mean, it is a slightly off-topic example, but to illustrate this point, if a female and a man are talking to somebody, there's typically a female may say, and the man won't pick this up, "Ooh, he seems slightly dodgy, a bit, I don't understand. I can sense something, but I don't know what it is." They can't put their finger on it, but something's dodgy about the person. For the man, however, he won't have picked any of that up. He won't. He'll just be oblivious to it. What do you mean? What do you mean? But they pick and sense something because they can pick up the little nuances in body language. That's why a man should never, ever, 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 ever lie to a woman face to face. She will weed it out and find out you're lying straight away because you will give it away. So the best way, I'm telling this to our younger audience.
I think you got a very fairy tale idea of
women. No, that is exactly how it works.
Look, I lie to women all the flipping time, and they have no flipping clue.
They haven't got a clue.
You got to understand what kind of lies they want to hear. You got to tell women what they want to hear. Part of being MGTOW, part of being red pill, is that you get to understand what lies work and what they want to hear, and you just feed them what they want to hear.
You've been on a course, of MGTOW course, to learn about all these things.
It's not hidden. It's all on the internet. Anybody who's interested, 2 hours of Googling will settle your problem, my friend.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, you said a couple of things. I was going to challenge you, but you've gone on, and I can't remember what I was going to say. There's a Journal of Social and Personal Relationships published in 2012. JSPR, Juliet Sierra Papa Romeo. Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, published 2012. And it's a paper, several pages long. How many pages? A 28-page report that actually deals scientifically. I mean, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 contributors from the University of Wisconsin in USA.
Yeah.
So it's a serious piece of work, and they were looking. I think they got a research grant to look into this question of so-called platonic relationships, and they are of the opinion that, in actual fact, although there are non-romantic, that's how they put it.
Yeah,
non-romantic friendships between males and females are possible. In fact, they say that it's not just possible, it's actually common in the modern world, because men and women now work in the same environment, whereas
Yeah,
before, you know, they
less
didn't.
so. No, indeed.
Yes, was less so. That actually the platonic coexistence is merely a facade. And that's their word. It's a facade, which is the point I'm trying to make. That it's a facade. It's not real. A true platonic relationship, of which I have a couple, like I say, and you probably, I think all of us got a couple which are truly platonic, because truly we're not attracted to the other person.
Yeah.
You know, neither person. Okay, so in those situations, it's a real platonic relationship. And by the way, in that situation, can you drive me to the mall, or can you drive me to town on Saturday because I want to go shopping? Would work the same way as I would for a guy. Because look, Tony, if you said, Ty, can you drive me into town on Saturday? I'd have a few questions.
Yeah, you would to wonder, ask why.
Why, you know, what's going on? Then you give me, so that, you know, I'm alone, everybody's gone off on holiday somewhere, and you know, I can't face drive. Yeah, okay, because you know, it's a one-off thing. We can, you know, it's like almost like an emergency, if you like.
Yeah.
So these platonic relationships, it would be the same thing. I'd ask the same series of questions. Why? Because I've almost elevated them to men.
Yep, that's fine.
You know, in my head.
Are you saying, if if Scarlett Johansson asked you to go shopping,
yeah, sure, yeah, I'll take it.
You wouldn't think twice.
yeah, that's right. When do I roll up, Scarlett?
I'll cancel what I'm doing. I'll do that.
Yeah, you know, I was taking the wife to the hospital. That's gonna be on the back burner. She'll go use a cab or something. I'll be around. I hope she doesn't watch this episode, man. What the hell? Yeah, I'll be around. No, don't worry. Yeah, I'll be there.
I mean, okay. I mean, I get that. There's gonna be. I mean, have you ever watched Friends?
Yes, I used to watch it quite a lot. I'm embarrassed to say.
Okay, we're embarrassed. It's a great program. I did watch it all.
Yeah, I just realized the other day that in 10 years of programming, they only had one black character on it.
Really?
So yeah, Ross's girlfriend. I think she was the penultimate, the third black. There's the black girlfriend, the one he almost married in England, and then he went back to Rachel. And that was like in the 9th year or the final year or something like that. That's what you try and think of what other black friend they had. It's just the one. I didn't realize at the time, but looking back, it's like, oh, what the hell? You know. So anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
If it's funny, it's funny, isn't it?
You could say that as well. I mean, okay, we're digressing.
Like slightly. I said, if it's funny, it's funny.
Hispanic. There's no Hispanic people in it. There was no
exactly. Well,
Indian
I'm not just
people.
Black, so but
you were just taking a group of friends who happened to be white, and that was all. And we're not talking about the word
black. This was like colored, okay? But I don't like the word colored. It's colored people. So, but there's all white, very white.
Okay, but that aside, there was an episode in Friends where they talked about the list, and they had who would they have on their list that if you approached, so you'd have a list of 5 people who were celebrities, and you know, almost like you'd never meet them, but if you did, you were allowed
you
to
had
have sexual relations with them.
You had a free pass.
Yeah, you had a free pass.
We don't. My wife and I don't call it a list. It's just a free pass.
Yeah,
she's got George Clooney. And mine keeps fluctuating depending on my mood. But it's not even Scarlett Johansson, funnily enough.
Oh no. Okay. Yeah. Are you going to admit to all our listeners who it is?
No, I say it fluctuates.
Oh,
I mean, today it could be this, and then tomorrow it could be that. It's like,
well, you could have a couple. It doesn't have to be one. I mean,
my wife. Ours is one. Ours is just one.
My wife has got John Bon Jovi.
Oh, really? Okay. Yes. Oh, by the way, I think she knows that there is no such thing as a free pass. Okay, I don't really have a free pass, and neither does my wife. So it's a theoretical thing.
Yeah.
I think you can have maybe a close dance, you know, a slow dance. That I can live with that. And then,
see, that's more your insecurity now coming through.
It's not a question of insecurity. It's just that's not what marriage is. I mean, like, you don't really sleep outside. You don't do that.
No, exactly. And there you go. So if you had 2 married couples that happened to their totally happy, but the husband and the wife of the other one were friends, platonic friends, because they'd known each other from childhood. See, that's platonic.
Yeah, from childhood, obviously, yeah.
There you
It's
go.
very difficult to. I mean, I've got friends that we grew up together.
Yeah, you
The
go into
thought
friends.
of
Yeah,
having anything
exactly.
to do with them is actually quite sickening because they're more like sisters or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, but those
This
are
is what I'm
platonic.
saying. But sometimes that is platonic, because what happens is you move the relationship into a friend zone, and then it moves on. The longer it goes into like brother and sister, sibling zone. Even though they're not your siblings, the relationship is almost like that. So you've spent so much time with them from a long period that they're like an extension of your family. So it becomes platonic. And this is what I'm saying. You were telling me about your colleague in your work environment. She was relatively young, and she was in disagreement with me in particular, where I think that you can have men and women in platonic only relationships.
No, she
and
was
it
meant to
tends
join
be,
us. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join us
she couldn't
for this show.
Yeah, but the difference is for younger people, then yes, it's harder. But as the years progress, if you've known someone long enough, then you can have these platonic relationships because they move into, like I said, friend zone, and then into almost sibling zone, and they become an extension of your existing family. And so what you said, you'd say, if they rang you and said, oh, by the way, I need to go to the shops on Saturday, can you give me a lift? You would, as you rightly say, challenge them and go, why? What's the matter with you with what you normally get a lift in? Because you've gone past that point of the sexual element, because you've got to know them so well that they are almost family. And then you're right, you couldn't even imagine it because they're family. And that's where I'm getting to, because the statement that can men and women be truly platonic, that's where I'm going to. I agree that they can, but it does take time. In the beginning, you're right, it could even be, oh, they're quite nice. Oh, I like them. And even mutually, but they never reveal that. It's only in their mind. So in the early stages of a relationship, then yeah, it could be, oh, there's a slight attraction there. But
Well,
then
what's
as you
wrong
get
with
to
our
know them,
question? What's wrong with the question of our show is that we don't have a constraints by number. So it should have been, to be a better question, it should have had a constraints by number. So we should have said something like, can all men and all women have platonic relationships? We should have constrained it somehow.
Yeah,
Is it
possibly.
most men? Is it all? Because this kind of open thing like this, it's like if you just prove that only one couple have had a platonic relationship, then the whole thing. But that's obviously not what we're saying.
No.
I'm trying to say it's not what I was trying to say. I'm trying to say that by and large, which means in the majority of cases, in most cases, you don't have a truly platonic relationship, because for the man, and this scientific paper is talking about
Study,
this
yeah.
benefit.
Research, yeah.
What's it called again? The Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. What they were saying is that for men,
Yep.
there is usually a hidden sexual motive, and in fact, they make a very interesting point that how do they put it now? Most men think, right, if a man is attracted to a woman in this so-called platonic relationship,
Yep.
sexually attracted, most of the time they think that the woman is sexually attracted to them too, but that circumstances prevent them from coming together. Whereas, in fact, they were usually wrong. That men tend to overestimate their own sexual attractiveness to the other person.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely, yes.
And on the flip side, most women don't recognize that the guy is sexually attracted to her.
Yeah.
So most women tend to underestimate their sexual attractiveness to the other person. And that is why you have this men from Mars, women from Venus thing, where there are cross purposes, which is the point that I like to make when I talk about platonic relationships. Because I think I was talking about my young colleague, I was trying to get her to understand that someone that I thought in the office was like, yeah, he likes you. And she was like, no, like this is the problem. you guys don't recognize it when it's in front of your nose.
But the men don't notice it either. If there's a girl that likes a guy,
it can be hard. Sometimes you almost feel like slapping them or something and say, "Wake up, my friend." And
can you see?
Do you need a gilded invitation? What's your problem?
But the thing is, it's because the young people are still learning. They're still learning how all this works, and they're not aware. And that awareness comes from experience and wisdom. Now, you and I are, over 32, so we know a little bit more.
Long in the tooth, my friend.
I know, I'm only 32. But,
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, give or take a few hundred months.
Yes.
But yeah, because of that, we've acquired a modicum of wisdom through experience, and we've been in situations where this is, and you see, and you get that light bulb moment, and so you can take that forward. But a lot of young people, if we address this question, can men and women be truly platonic, only friends, unmarried, say we framed it that way, then you're almost going to say no, because if they're unmarried, then yeah, you're right, the man will most likely be on heat because he wants to
get a leg over.
But obviously women the same. If they see a guy who's quite attractive, makes them laugh, he looks appealing, yeah, absolutely, and they're in it as well. But the shame of it all is that they don't let each other know. They could be aiming to be friends, in quotes, platonic, but in reality they both like one another and don't get it together. That also happens.
Actually, I'll give you some numbers that I saw. Now, is it in this article or not? It was kind of weird. I didn't expect it. So, in that journal I've mentioned, the researchers brought 88 pairs of undergraduates, opposite sex friends, to the science lab.
Yep.
Privacy was paramount, absolutely guaranteed, and they could not discuss what they said even afterwards. That was the agreement.
Okay, so how do they measure this?
No, so what they did was they separated the couples and then asked the couples, look, this is just between us, because nobody will ever know.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sexually attracted to your friend?
When the couples were present?
No.
Oh, just one of them?
Just one of them.
So they interviewed him separately?
Separately, yeah.
Right, but they never revealed whether they did?
No.
Okay. So
probably anonymized.
So the male to the scientist, and then he left, and then got the girl in, the girl to the scientist. Okay, research.
And then they weren't even allowed to discuss it. If they kept to the rules, they were not even allowed to discuss it afterwards.
Afterwards, right?
So everybody was like totally free, just to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's when it came that 56% of them had 56% on both sides had sexual thoughts about the other.
Okay.
Which is quite a surprise. That's 56% is the majority.
It is the majority.
Which is, to me, a surprise, by the way. Even though, because I thought it to be like 90% on the men or 98% on the men, and 10% on the women.
No, not 10%.
But it seems to be even more generalized than that. And so I found that shocking.
If you're thinking, you see, the framing of the question is interesting. I'd like to see what they asked, because when you say, did you have a sexual feeling or an attraction, that's different, because there's men out there.
I don't want to be crude. I mean, I could have put it like this: would you like to boink your friend?
Right. Okay.
That's kind of crude. It's just like, are you sexually attracted to the other person?
No, I think the sexually attractive and would I want to have sex with them are two different things.
Oh,
yeah.
Why?
Because sexually attracted, you mean I'm attracted to them, I like them, but that doesn't mean I want to take it any further. There's that.
That doesn't compute for me. I don't understand it.
Because you weigh up a lot of things in that statement. I could find you'd have to sort of weigh up, well, hold on a minute. Am I willing to risk everything I have just for this attraction? No, I might find him attractive, but that doesn't mean I'm going to take it any further.
Okay, so these are college students, right? So nobody was married.
College students, no commitments, no nothing, then that's different.
Yeah.
But if you got older, that's the sort of questioning most people
of course,
would have.
That's one of the reasons why we don't act on it.
Yes, because of
the consequences.
Yeah, the consequences. The consequences are not worth it.
Can be severe, yeah.
Indeed. Oh, well, they would most certainly will be. So you don't do it. And it's not, but if you're, as you get older, you tend to like the things that are not as sexual, funnily enough, that make them more valuable than even if Scarlett Johansson or anyone else. In my case, Jessica Alba. But,
Have you seen her without makeup on?
Jessica Alba, yes.
I mean, not personally.
Yes. Not personally, no. I have seen her without makeup on. And she's still attractive, so...
To you, really? You must not have seen the picture that I saw.
Okay.
Her grandmother, by the way, was stupendous.
Her grandmother?
Jessica Alba's grandmother was amazing.
Stunning.
Okay. The pictures of, if you want to Google Jessica Alba's grandmother, if you don't feel weird about it, that's where Jessica Alba gets her looks from grandmother's something else.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I may have a look at some point. Okay, going back to...
She can't act.
Who, Jessica Alba?
Yeah. Such a shame.
You know what? I haven't seen her in much recently.
I'm not surprised, she can't act. Never could. She's always a thing of beauty, very easy to look at. She can't act.
She did a couple of films, but
yeah. Marvel. Those people?
Marvel.
What are those people? The stretchy one, the Fantastic Four.
Oh, that's right, Fantastic Four. Yeah.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Anyway, and she did one with Jason Statham, which is a very weird film. If you just like action movies where you can switch off the brain, you should watch it.
I can't recall that film, but okay.
Jason Statham and Jessica Alba.
Okay. I didn't know they did a film.
I think it was called The Mechanic or something. Anyway,
that's a sideshow. Yeah, we've just discovered who the person on my list would be.
Who's mine? I don't agree with Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, so who's yours then?
To be honest with you, I mean, it's all theoretical.
Charlize Theron.
Oh, Charlize Theron. No. Sorry, it's that same thing. What you going to do? You see, a lot of people think it's a pose with me. It's not a pose. It really is like, I don't know, man. Like when I used to drink, I'd have said something like, how about you just, mosey on down there and get me another beer. We'll call it quits. I'm happy with that.
The smaller pleasures in life are more appealing.
The small little pleasures.
Exactly. I think that's an age thing. That is an age thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, if we had to segment the age ranges of people, then this would, if we could plot it on a graph, we would discover that the older people got, the more true this would be. But younger people are just still fresh, they're young, they're just all about the sexual encounter. And so, yes, for that demographic, absolutely, it would be difficult. And your colleague at work who was of that demographic, she would obviously vehemently oppose what we're saying here, because she would say, no, they're not interested in platonic, they're only after one thing, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But as you move forward and as you go up the ladder of age, you'll find that this is actually true, because that's more valuable than the slap and tickle. Whereas for a younger person, it's all about the slap and tickle. That's it, because they're trying to establish themselves. But when you get older, there are more important things in our eyes rather than slap and tickle. Yes, it's still there, but it's not up there with the other things.
It's not the all-consuming thing.
It's not. And that's the difference. And so the question itself is, as you rightly said, we should have set boundaries around it. But because it was all encompassing, and it is
Mm.
for our listenership, we'd have to conclude. I mean, okay, we still got a few minutes left of the show, thank goodness. But we'd have to conclude that, yes, platonic relationships between heterosexual friends do exist, and they're in abundance, because at our age range, they are. But when you go down the levels to younger youth, then less so.
I'll tell you something that was also surprising in that study is that men and women were equally attracted to romantically involved opposite sex friends. So it's like if you couldn't have them, that sort of triggered a desire to have them.
Well, yeah, that's a normal human trait.
What is it really? What kind of
Yeah,
weird
it is.
human?
Yeah.
No, you guys are weird.
If something's not obtainable, you want it more. There's a desire there.
Why
Yes.
would you want it more? Why don't you just want what you can actually have?
No, because it's almost out of reach. Like it's the garden, the grass is always greener type
On the other side,
scenario.
on the other side of the fence.
Where you have. It's funny. I sent you that joke, didn't I, just recently, which you said you'd heard before about
the store with the
store.
house.
Yeah, the store. Just for the benefit of our listeners, you want me to recount it? But
You should, yeah, because I can't tell a story like that.
what happens was there's a imaginary store that women have to go to, and on the first floor is full of men that they're looking for, but these men on the first floor all have jobs. And the thing is, they have to pick a floor, and once they've picked that floor, that's it. There's no going back. Okay? So the first floor is men who just have jobs. So going up a floor, on the second floor, these are men that have jobs, but don't mind kids. And the women are thinking, okay, what's on the third floor? Third floor is men who have jobs, like kids, but are very romantic. Okay, and what's the fourth floor? Fourth floor is men who have jobs, love kids, romantic, and also do the housework. And women are asking and queuing up to the fifth floor because they discovered there was a fifth floor. So there's 30 million women queuing up for the fifth floor because they anticipated, they thought, hang on, this has got 5 floors, but there's no description on the fifth floor. But they're queuing up out there anyway, on the hope that this man could be the most, have a job, have everything, stimulate them, everything. But then when they got to the fifth floor, there was nobody there, was there?
Yeah, that's right.
It was a floor of you can't please women at all.
Yeah, that's right. I just had a sign saying this just proves there's no pleasing women. On the other hand, what was it with the husband, the man store? Because that was an incomplete story. That was an incomplete.
It was. There's a second bit, isn't there?
There's a second bit, which is there's a similar store for men.
Yep.
And on the first floor, there's women who are good looking and are good in bed. Yeah. No one has ever been to the second floor.
I know.
That's it. Yes. Don't know what else on the second floor.
What else do you need?
I don't know. I'm not interested.
Oh, dear. But that is a joke because in reality, men do want more than that. They do want the being looked after, but they do want to be looked after. Yeah. They do want to be respected. They do want someone to make sure that their belly is full. That is important too. Yeah, that's what they say about
nowadays. We're saying that what it is we don't want another man in the house because we're already the man in the house.
Yes.
So this is where highly masculinized females of today. This is where they're going wrong and not be able to get anyone because they have got a very male energy.
Well, they can find more
pliable men.
Yeah.
The trouble is, women don't like pliable men. Isn't that funny? And it's not funny because it just makes common evolutionary sense in that way. Why would you want a man? The woman wants a man.
There is a complaint though, because there's a difference between men and women when they are in a relationship. A man will pick a female based on some characteristics like, does she look nice? Is she good sexually? That's obviously important at the beginning. Could she father my kids?
Mm-hmm.
Could she look after me? And it mentally scale a female early doors on some of these characteristics. And if she scores highly, they go, oh yeah, she's all right. I don't want her to change.
Mm.
However, how a female works is
I
slightly
can work
different.
with him. I can work with him.
I can work
make
with
him into
I
what
can make him into something. Yeah. Oh, he doesn't score highly on his dress sense. I can fix that one.
Mm.
You know, oh, he's not that romantic, but you know what? We can work on that. He's all right as a person. He makes me laugh. That'll do. Yeah. And so they look for things that they can tweak and improve upon. And so, but then the grumble is that they can spend 20 years adjusting the man, making him to be a certain way, and then they complain, he's not the man I first met, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So that is so sort of
cliche, but
which is why MGTOW say you never change.
you
for a
should
woman.
never.
You should never, because it won't matter in the end.
Well, indeed. But okay. I mean, jesting aside, we've covered a few jokes here to show the comparison between the men and women. But in your experience, and now you're a MGTOW, actually, there may be listeners listen to this show who don't know what that means. You've referenced it a number of times, and you've made the assumption they're all aware what it is. Do you want to explain what that is so people are not confused?
MGTOW stands for MGTOW. MGTOW, men going their own way. MGTOW. And it is like-minded men who have decided that because Western society is inimical to men, we will not play the game and live as society expects us to. That we will make up our own rules and live within society in our own rules. And I never mentioned anything in all that description. Did I mention anything about feminism?
No.
No. And yet, if you go into Wikipedia, it's going to tell you that MGTOW is an anti-feminist movement. It's not. It's just that we say, look, if we do what society wants us to do, which is to say, you know, find a wife, get married, have kids, work hard, slave. What is more likely than not to happen is that in our 40s and 50s, we will lose our house, we will lose half our money, and we will lose a lot of our pension and end up with nothing, not even our kids. And that's because that's the way society is right now is structured. And that doesn't make sense for any man. So we decide we're not going to play that game. It's got nothing to do with feminism or anything else that they keep on accusing us of. So we go our own way.
But how can you go your own way when the laws...
So the first thing is absolutely 100% don't marry a Western woman. And if you marry a woman, don't bring her back to the West. That's the first rule. That's the first commonsensical thing to do. Secondly, be very aware of how the law works. If you go out with a woman and you get her pregnant, you're in for it. If she wants to, she can she can suck the life out of you. So be very careful where you put your John Thomas. These things matter. Just be aware. Just read up on family law and what's going on in the family law courts. Be aware of not being in the same room alone with a woman, unless you've got a recording device or something. Don't be close to females at work in the sense of meeting afterwards. You can laugh and josh on where the other people. Sure, laugh, joke, whatever. No smut. Stay away from smutty things. Don't remark on what people look like. It's none of your business. Just be aware of all the things that have happened to other men, and you'll know what to avoid, and then you just avoid it. You go your own way. You just navigate the dangerous waters by essentially being careful and keeping yourself to yourself when it comes to intergender relationships.
Okay. I'm mindful that we are getting close to the top of the hour, and we've digressed slightly from the topic.
It's been an interesting topic. It's been interesting.
It's been interesting. Yeah. We've maintained the theme really with men and women relationship, but the core question is, can men and women be truly platonic only friends? I think we have answered that. But what's your conclusion based on what we've covered today?
can men and women be truly platonic? Yes, in certain circumstances, but not in most cases. So it's a bit of a weasel. It's not. I usually like to give more straightforward answers, as you know, as I think you know. But this time, I think I need to have that little, because it's an absolute question. Can men and women be platonic? Yes, of course they can. It's absolutely, right? But your everyday experience is not going to be that. And that somehow has to be reflected in the answer.
Okay. I mean, the way that you answered this question at the start of the show was more based on even the thought process. So if your thoughts were sexually motivated, even though you didn't act on it, that to you meant it wasn't platonic.
Mhm.
Whereas I took a different view, that if you're not acting on them, it's still platonic in my eyes, because you're in the friend zone and you're not acting on your desire, I suppose. But it depends, your situation really. If she's out of reach, if it's a man's side or the female's thinking he's out of reach, then you can still have those thoughts, but still have the relationship platonically. So that's how I view it. But we've already touched on it. The older you go through life, the more likely platonic relationships, purely platonic, with no thought of sexual deviance or encounters are crossing your mind. You literally are just friends, because that person, no matter if they're opposite sex, they've almost become an extension of your family, a brother or sister. And in that way, yes, you're having a platonic relationship, because there is no thought ever of it being sexual in any way. And
don't forget, it's deep in our culture. I mean, straight away, you think about something like When Harry Met Sally, for instance.
yeah,
There's so many films like that, aren't there?
They are. But
Friends
you
with
notice they're
Benefits
younger
and
people.
things like that. And they're not necessarily about younger people. When Harry Met Sally took span over, what, 20 years or 15, 20 years? What was it? From when they were in college to when they finally got together. It was at least 10 years, maybe even more, wasn't it?
But some people, okay, take that a little bit further. Some people, they have friends and they're just friends, and they have pacts. They say, right, if we can't find a partner by the time we're 40, we'll hook
That's
up.
very peculiar.
That's weird, isn't it?
It's very weird. Because
they
that'd
know
be
each
your
other.
friend.
Yeah, they're your friend.
I don't know
weird.
how you go to bed with your friend, to be honest with you.
I know, that's odd. That is odd.
It's just off, man. Okay. I'm trying to put it together with some of my friends, female friends, and that would just be.
It's not, is it? They're not friends. Yeah, it's because they've become almost family members.
Yeah,
and this is where,
like you said, like I think you rightly said during the show.
Yeah. Okay, but unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.
Bye.